Hello, world, and welcome to the Shannon Joy Show. We're broadcasting live from the Joy virtual studio right here in the beautiful Finger Lakes region of New York State. It is so great to be with all of you today. It is balmy here in New York State. We have a big show for you today. You see the headlines on today's show. Flock off. Americans are raging against the surveillance state and the flock cameras. We also have the amazing Derrick Broze joining us live in the Joy Virtual Studio right around 12:50 p.m. Eastern time today. But it is sweeping the nation. Flock fury. No one wants it. Democrats, Republicans, old, young, black, white, you name it. Everyone hates the surveillance state. And it is beautiful to watch people rise up from all across the country and even across the globe. So a revolt is underway against one of the largest surveillance networks ever built. Flock Safety's AI-powered license plate readers, tens of thousands of them, track vehicles nationwide, feeding data into a searchable database accessible to thousands of agencies with minimal oversight and all sorts of opportunities for abuse, especially of our Fourth Amendment God-given right to privacy. What began as a tool for stolen cars and missing persons has sparked intense backlash across the country. We're going to go over some of that, the backlash. I have some video for you as well. Cities from Eugene, Oregon to Santa Cruz, California, Arizona, Dayton, Ohio have canceled contracts, deactivated cameras, or literally covered them up with trash bags. And now we have people sweeping across the nation, just taking them out. And it is, I just love it. I love it. I love disobedient Americans. I love Americans who are sick of the uniparty political system. They're sick of the tech bros and the oligarchs running everything. They're sick of billionaires and foreign governments owning our politicians. We're sick of the uniparty. We're sick of the left versus right. We just want our country back. We want to be left alone. And we want the Constitution of the United States of America in place and our God-given natural rights respected by the people who are running things in this country. And they're just running roughshod over all of it. And I think we're all getting a little pissed off, and I'm here for it. I've been waiting for this for the past 13 years. So let's go. Let's go. We are sick of the Fourth Amendment violations, the warrantless tracking, officer misuse, and just plain creepiness of the surveillance state, and we are rising up. So we're also going to talk to Derrick Broze because he just had a piece, which I've linked in the show notes of the Shannon Joy Show. The Mexican government now has delayed biometric registration, that deadline, after massive public resistance to what? Digital IDs. We're fighting digital ID here in the United States of America. The KIDS Act just got passed in the House of Representatives. Absolutely atrocious. It is a bill that purports to protect children online, but actually it is a massive Trojan horse for digital ID. That's going to the Senate next week, and we're going to be keeping an eye on that today, tomorrow, and next week on the Shannon Joy Show as we rage against that. We need to kill that bill, and I'm going to be bringing all of the information that you need to get activated so that we can secure our liberties here in the U.S. So Derrick Broze wrote a piece on this Mexican government delay of the digital ID. We're going to talk to him about that. And we're also going to talk to him about his U.S. activation tour. He is taking to the United States of America, giving talks, focusing on parallel institutions, promoting exit and build strategies, and reigniting the people outside of the two-party political paradigm independently against these people who want to take our freedom, our liberty, our government, our Constitution, and our right to pursue happiness. We're not going to take this lying down. We're not just going to hand it over to the tech lords and the tech fascists. We're going to fight back. And this is going to be your central station, the Shannon Joy Show, every day. We're going to bring you the best experts, the best guests. If you want to get involved, get organized, if you want to organize at the local level, you're going to get those resources here on the Shannon Joy Show every day. Not left, not right, just the truth. Straight up, no chaser. The Shannon Joy Show is independent. We've been doing this for 13 years, and I couldn't do it without all of you. Of course, we're live today on Rumble. We're live on Twitter, Spreely TV, Roku TV, Apple TV. We are live on YouTube and Substack and Facebook. Great to see all of you who are watching today. If you're watching right now, do me a favor. Give the show a thumbs up. Smash that thumbs up button right now on Rumble. Join the live chats. Leave comments. This is how we massage the algorithm to push this show out organically. It's how we've grown the show over the past 13 years, and we are going to continue to grow. So we have a huge show for you today. Thank you to our sponsors. First and foremost, we're talking about the surveillance state. We're talking about the drones and the flocks and all of the attempts to track and trace you. One of the ways the government does that is by your device, your cell phone, your laptop, your electronic device. Well, we are so thankful for our friends over at the Satellite Phone Store. You know that the Satellite Phone Store has been a sponsor of the Shannon Joy Show for almost 2 years. They have been an amazing support to the Shannon Joy Show. You've met the owners. I love the folks over at the Satellite Phone Store, and they are your one-stop shop for everything that you need to prepare. But most importantly, their amazing line of dark bags. This is Faraday protection for your devices. It protects against an EMP attack. It protects you against EMF radiation. Hello, 6G is coming. 5G is here. It's not good for the human body. Faraday can protect your body and the bodies of your children from that harmful radiation. But most importantly, these Faraday bags, the dark bag line over at the Satellite Phone Store, is going to protect you from the government snoops. That's right. When you drop your device or your phone into a Sat123 dark bag, you are off the grid. They can't track you. They can't trace you. They can't look into your business. And this is just one of the benefits of the Faraday protection that you can get at the Satellite Phone Store. So sat123.com/joy, sat123.com/joy. Everything is on sale right now, and you will get an additional 10% off with the JOY promo code. So sat123.com/joy, sat123.com/joy. And yes, Guitar Lily, I'm going to talk about the trees. The trees, as you guys know, my hair is high today. The higher my hair, the more irritated I am. And I'm irritated today as we wait for Derrick Broze to join us in just about 15, 20 minutes. I have a couple things I want to get to today. First, I want to say hello to everyone on the live chat. If you are brand new, especially on Rumble, I want to say hello to you. So make a comment in the live chat. I'm going to say hi. If you're watching on YouTube, of course, I'm going to be checking on you during the breaks. But I do want to look at Rumble right now. Zinc and Ivy, thank you so much. Join the DeFlock movement for a national week of action. Go to www.deflock.org. That is amazing. Zinc and Ivy, thank you so much. Welcome to the live chat here on the Shannon Joy Show on Rumble. Smash that like button and the thumbs up. Push this out. Let's get our Rumble viewership up and over 100. We also have Fearless Rose in USA. We do live in a crazy and upside down world. And thank you, Fearless Rose in USA, for joining the DeFlock movement. I have a couple links in the show notes of the Shannon Joy Show that can hook you up with the nationwide DeFlock movement. It's beautiful. Just like the revolt against the data centers, this movement knows no political party or political paradigm. That's because both the Democrats and Republicans are behind handing everything out to an unelected oligarchical power structure within Silicon Valley, the tech fascists. This is a bipartisan betrayal of the American people and our Constitution. And so necessarily, the movement against it is going to have to be bipartisan as well. And I love that. I love meeting my new Democrat liberal friends who are going to be raging against the machines, the data centers, the surveillance apparatus, the drones, you name it. I love it. Honor Seeker, great to see you. Mama C 1996, it's great to see you on the live chat as well. Hey, Trust the Secret Squirrel Plan, glad you're with us. General Patton is with us today. Who else do we have here? Do Not Obey is with us as well. And Guitar Lily. Shannon, they are cutting down your trees so that the flock cams can see you. Yeah. And the trees also get in the way of the 5G and especially the 6G, which we learned yesterday in my blockbuster interview with Nick Hulsher of Focal Points. His website is thefocalpoints.com. We learned yesterday that Donald Trump shamefully, after warp speeding the deadly, disastrous COVID shots, is now warp speeding via executive order the rollout of, I kid you not, 6G, which is even more damaging in terms of EMF radiation than 5G. And we went into that in great detail yesterday with Nick Hulsher. He is an epidemiologist and a health reporter, one of the world's foremost experts on these matters. He's absolutely brilliant. I want to highly recommend that you guys go back to yesterday's show and watch the entire thing. If you haven't, we went in deep on it. But Fearless Rose, listen, this is why I'm so irritated. Two things I have stuck in my craw today that I want to get to. First and foremost, Rand Paul and pushing out the ridiculous, absurd gain of function nonsense, the nonsense of Anthony Fauci cooking up a super scary weaponized virus in a bat lab and poisoning or maiming 15 million Americans. This is what Rand Paul is engaging in. They are setting up a new round of hearings or questioning for Anthony Fauci, and it's a circus sideshow. Nothing will come out of it. It's in the Senate. It's an opportunity for Rand Paul to grandstand when he was worthless, nowhere to be found when it mattered in 2020 and then in 2021. And when he did finally come out and offer a little bit of pushback against the lockdowns of 2020 and 2021 and the forced masking and the forced vaccination, it was all within the paradigm of gain of function, the gain of function labs and Anthony Fauci. Well, I have a real problem with that because I'm of the mindset that he is sowing up confusion and disinformation. And at this point, from my perspective, it's hard to believe that he does not know what he is doing here. Now, this is a video, and we're going to talk about the trees. Because the trees, this is what really has me going today. This is what has me hot and bothered today on a very hot and balmy day in New York State. It is what my village and the village board and the so-called tree board, which is actually a tree killers board, is doing to the absolutely beautiful mature trees in our used to be gorgeous village that had a beautiful natural canopy of mature trees lining the streets. It's abhorrent. I posted out yesterday on Facebook about what is happening to our trees. It's a tree massacre, which started about a year ago and is now ramping up again, it appears. So I just couldn't take it anymore. I posted out on Facebook. Usually I'm totally suppressed on Facebook, but this particular post got like 100,000 views and like 36,000 engagements and is like rocking and rolling on Facebook right now. And what I didn't realize is that this type of tree massacre, which is funded through massive federal grants from the federal government and also state grants, is happening not only across the United States of America in small towns and villages, but also across the globe. I got a comment from someone in Scotland that said the exact same thing was happening in their village as well. And I absolutely think that there's a larger agenda behind this, or else they wouldn't be putting hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars behind defacing and absolutely destroying the beauty of our villages in this country and beyond. Guitar Lily, my village was beautiful. I'll tell you the story. It's horrifying. Of all of the indignities, atrocities, the rights violations, the absurdities of the past 6 years in this country, this tree thing is every day I drive into the village or I walk through the village or I drive to my car and I see this barren wasteland of a landscape and these pencil neck trees that they replace these beautiful 40, 50-year-old mature trees. It just drives me crazy. It drives me crazy. And the tree board, the village board, the mayor, they're just incompetent fools, absolute incompetent fools. And by the way, I know a lot of them and they live in my village and they have some of the worst yards in the entire village. They don't even take care of their own front yards. And they come in and seize power and then destroy everything in our village. It just, it ticks me off. It really, I can't get over it. Talk to devastatingly handsome Dr. Joy. He's like, Shannon, you have to get over this. I'm like, I can't. I just can't. Guitar Lily, thank you. This is an interesting site. May give us the tools we need to use against tree murder and flock cams. So we're going to talk about that in a minute. How are you guys feeling today? So yeah, the joke is the more irritated I am, the more aggressively I tease and the higher my hair gets. And so that's why I have high hair today on the SJ show. Hey, Johnny Reb 1860, great to see you. Hey, Mr. Worthless Eater, great to see you. It's true, Shannon, said Mr. Worthless. I've known this for a while. 6G higher frequency is very short range and easily absorbed by trees. Hence, the localized clear cut we will soon see if they get their way. They're razing our villages and destroying our trees to make way for 6G, 5G, and flock cams. And I'm not here for it. I think it's also an attempt to demoralize us and accustomize us to ugliness. And this is what incompetent fools and governments do. And also, corporate leaders who don't even live in the vicinity. They don't even care. They don't even care. This big, these trees, pencil neck trees lining the village. It's the worst. It is the worst. Unbelievable. Coming up in the Shannon Joy Show, Derrick Broze is going to be with us in about 10, 15 minutes. Or no, in about 10 minutes. Oh, he's here. All right. He's an investigative journalist, author, documentary filmmaker, musician. He is an organizer and an activist out of Houston, Texas, and he just pushed out a great piece on resistance. The Mexican government delays biometric registration deadline after massive public resistance against digital ID. We are raging against the flock, raging against the digital ID, and I am here for it. So is Derrick. We're going to bring him in just about 5 minutes. But I wanted to play this video because I really think people need to understand what Rand Paul is doing. Rand Paul is beginning to really irritate me. He's really beginning to irritate me. He was on Fox News, and this is what he had to say. Take a look.
This was a conspiracy. This was a cover-up, and he has not really gotten his just desserts on this. And we want to make sure that the American public and that history records that he was involved with funding this dangerous research that led to a pandemic that killed 15 million people. There need to be repercussions.
Okay, that pisses me off. That pisses me off. Number one, Rand Paul was nowhere to be found in the dark days of 2020 or 2021 when it actually mattered, speaking out against Anthony Fauci, locking down the United States of America, and then the rollout of Operation Warp Speed and the deadly jabs. Nowhere to be found. When we needed him, he was not there. And then when he peeked his head out, it was only within the paradigm of gain of function research and blaming all of this on Anthony Fauci. Here's the reality. Anthony Fauci did not cook up a super scary weaponized COVID virus in a lab and kill 15 million people, okay? I can't even believe that we're doing this. But Rand Paul is now out there grandstanding. He wants justice. Oh, by the way, the statute of limitations just ran out and there can be no justice for Anthony Fauci. Isn't it convenient that now Rand Paul is going to have his hearings and put Anthony Fauci on the hot seat, focusing all of the attention not on the Department of Defense, not on the U.S. military, not on Donald Trump, who was the guy who wrote the executive order that established the emergency declaration that handed the government over to Anthony Fauci in 2021. Oh no, Rand Paul has nothing to say about that. He has nothing to say about the fact that we are still injecting babies and adults and elderly with these dangerous weaponized shots. Nothing to say about that. He's going to operate in this very, very narrow scope that demonizes Anthony Fauci. And at this point, I'm sick of it. I'm absolutely sick of it. The virus was never more dangerous than a flu. right? He repeats this idea that it was a super deadly pandemic. It wasn't. The virus was never more dangerous than a flu. COVID deaths were fraudulently reported, and you remember this in the early months to make it look worse than it actually was. Even if you were hit by a bus, it was recorded as a COVID death. He has nothing to say about that. We know that the PCR tests delivered millions of false positives and were designed to fraudulently identify positive cases in the early days in people who were not sick. Rand Paul has nothing to say about this truth, that it was the military countermeasures, not Anthony Fauci. The military countermeasures that were rolled out by DOD with Anthony Fauci as a spokesperson were the primary source of death and destruction in 21, 22, and 23. Lockdowns, isolation, remdesivir, ventilation, and ultimately the poison mRNA shots, which have killed and maimed millions and which are still being deployed today. Okay, Rand Paul? If there was any poisoning, it was not from a gain-of-function lab. It was more likely aerosolized spraying or environmental poisoning, and of course, the countermeasures, which was deployed by the United States military, not Anthony Fauci. So at this point, I'm sick and tired of Rand Paul and his limited hangout, and I just needed to get that off of my chest, okay? So that was my first source of irritation today. I'll save the tree story for a little bit later, today or tomorrow. I'm going to give you the lowdown. I have a lot to say about the raising of beautiful, mature trees in towns and villages across the United States of America to make way for flock cameras, 5G and 6G and surveillance. Okay, I have a lot to say about that. It's happening in my village, and I'm highly irritated by it. And I'm sure the dunderheads who are running things in town council and on the tree board have no idea what the larger agenda is. But anytime the United States government and the federal government put hundreds of millions of dollars behind grants to convince towns and villages to raise their naturally beautiful landscapes in exchange for tiny little serviceberry trees, you know that there's a larger agenda. And can I get a witness? Thank you, Guitar Lily. I'm all over the place here. It is like driving me nuts. Driving me nuts. All right. Well, without further ado, I need help here. Derrick Broze is with me in the Joy virtual studio, and I'm going to bring him in. Derrick, welcome to the Shannon Joy Show. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great, Shannon. Thank you for having me on, and I share your frustration with all these different topics.
Yeah. I'm really irritated about this. This started a year ago. We're going to get into all of your things. We have a ton to talk about with Derrick Broze. He's amazing. You can follow him on Twitter at @DBrozeLiveFree. He's an organizer, an activist. He has an amazing piece that we're going to get into. The Mexican people are revolting against digital ID. Derrick was there for it. He wrote it up on The Last American Vagabond. We're going to talk about that. And he's also leading a bottom-up, independent, community-led revolt, nonpartisan, against all of the things that we're irritated about today on the Shannon Joy Show. So we're going to talk about his tour across the United States of America and more as he educates people on how to fight back. But Derrick, here's the story. Okay. Starts a year ago. I live in this beautiful little canal town in New York State, Fairport, New York. It's right on the Erie Canal. We have a lift bridge. We have the train. We have this beautiful village with super enormous, large, mature trees that create this beautiful natural canopy, you know, when they come together. And it's just absolutely quintessential. We have Oktoberfest, we have Scarecrow Fest, we have the Music Fest, we have Canal Days. I mean, we have the 4th of July parade, we have the Memorial Day parade. It's just quintessential. So a year ago, I leave for work. I drive to work to my studio. I come into the studio, I cut my show and another show. I get here about 10:30. I walk out of the door at about 2:33 p.m. There was a ruckus outside. I knew something was going on. I figured there was some type of construction. I walk out and they have literally taken out 6 or 7 majestic trees that are lining like right outside of my studio. And I wanted to cry. It was awful. Over the next 3 days, they took out, I want to say, at least 3 dozen gorgeous trees and replaced them. They didn't even replace them for 6 months. They replaced them with these pencil neck ugly trees that are never going to grow over 10 feet or 15 feet. And it's just horrifying. So that's what happened. This is why so I go to work yesterday and I think this is over. I go to work yesterday and right outside of my studio where I park my car under the trees, they took out 2 more beautiful trees. I can't take it anymore. I just can't take it anymore. And so I pushed out a Facebook post and it went kind of viral, and that's why I'm talking about it. But I mean, what are your thoughts on that? I know you're following a lot of these type of things. It just drives me crazy.
Yeah, I think you and some of your commenters really touched on the relevance of this, and it all does go back to not just the flock cameras, but 5G, 6G. I put out a documentary in 2020 called The 5G Trojan Horse, and besides the very well-known surveillance concerns related to 5G and how that's the backbone for the Internet of Things and everything that we know coming, and then of course the concern of EMF exposure, there's also, I think, realistic environmental concerns, and part of that is the destruction of trees, because they say that 5G waves don't travel very far, and they're easily blocked by things like trees and buildings and stuff like that. This is also why I think you kind of touched on this earlier too. During Trump's first administration, he fast-tracked 5G rollout, and some of that happened while people were distracted with COVID as well. So they removed as many local barriers as they could in order to fast-track it.
Wow.
Just like we're hearing right now with this race to AI, who's going to be the first, China or the US, it's literally the same narrative. They're like, they're going to beat us to 5G, so we have to do all this stuff first. And there was a lot of environmental activists at the time saying this is going to cause the destruction of, as you were discussing, 100-year-old trees that are very old, that have been around, in order to build the system that they're saying, because of the low latency and the being easily disrupted. 5G towers and cells, what they call the small cells, they have to be installed every 200 to 300 feet. So that's why people are seeing them put on cell towers that exist already, put on light poles. That's why you see them pretending like they have palm trees in some places and stuff like this, and
cactuses.
Yeah, exactly. All the different ways that they're putting it there. I mean, so it's all kind of coming back to that same agenda. And yeah, I mean, unfortunately, we're seeing the same thing with the AI rollout, where they're ignoring the people's concerns, whether it's environmental, whether it's surveillance, whether it's land, eminent domain, water rights, things like that. They're just going to roll forward with it and try to cram it down our throats.
Yeah, it's horrifying. And then 6G is even more invasive and detrimental to the human body. The EMF radiation, we had Nick Holscher on the show yesterday who went over that with us. And to your point, Donald Trump, he warp speeded poison shots, then he warp speeded 5G rollout. Now he's warp speeding 6G rollout. That just happened, a few weeks ago, as Nick Holscher reported. It's really devastating. And what shocked me the most, Derrick, when I made this post on Facebook and then I copied it and posted it on Twitter as well, all over the country, there were people chiming in. The exact same thing happened in my town or village. I had a comment from someone in Scotland who said the exact same thing happened in their town or village. We also know, I did a little bit of research about the tree board in this initiative, which started in earnest in my village in 2023 and 24. That's when it was rolled out. But it's completely attached to a massive, massive federal government grant and also state government grants with all kinds of strings attached. It was the equivalent of about $4 million that was granted to the village of Fairport to absolutely destroy all of the trees and replace them with the smaller ones. So this is mirrored. If this is mirrored across towns and villages and it is attached to the same money, there's absolutely an agenda there. Even if the dunderheads on the board have no idea what's going on, they're absolutely clueless. This is being rolled out, and I think there is that alternative agenda.
Absolutely. I mean, this is for people who want to know more about the influence of big wireless. I mentioned my 5G documentary that more specifically deals with 5G, but I think it's chapter 5 or 6 of my Pyramid of Power series, which everybody can find for free at thepyramidofpower.net. We have an episode dedicated specifically to big wireless, and we understand the power of the Israeli lobby and other lobbies, but I think the big wireless lobby is often sort of overlooked. People don't realize how much money they invest and donate to media companies like the Washington Post, like the New York Times and others, but also they donate heavily to candidates around the country, to politicians around the country. And yeah, I mean, some of my first successful, and I say successful in the sense of getting attention via the internet back in Houston, where I'm originally from, was about 5G. And I started going to the Houston City Council and just confronting them with the facts. And one of those city council videos got 1 million views, and that led a lot of people to reach out to me.
Wow.
And I've heard these stories all around the country, all around the world, like you're saying. And when I started to get involved in helping people, for example, one lady who they were building a tower 200 feet from her church and 100 foot from her child's school, she went to the local tower commission, which is this sort of, nondescript board that most Houstonians don't even know exists because it only meets every 2 to 3 months. She appealed to the tower commission. This is like the one place you go to if you want to try to say, hey, I don't want this tower near my house. And of course, because of the 1996 FCC law, the Telecommunications Act, the thing that people need to know is even if you oppose a tower or cell site near you, because of that law, which has been in place for 30 plus years now, you can't even appeal the installation of the towers based on health concerns or anything like that. They won't even let you in the room if you try to come with that. The only thing you can argue, according to the law, is that you don't like the way it looks or that you have some sort of other concerns. So if you walk in there and say, look, I've got all these studies about health and this and that, they will just completely dismiss you. And that's basically what I saw happen in the local level in Houston. And when I started to investigate the Tower Commission, it turned out 2 of the 4 members were former attorneys for Verizon Wireless. So, I mean, there's this sort of corruption that goes down to the town level, the village level that you're talking about. You will find the influence of big wireless even at that level.
That's absolutely wild. Again, we're talking to Derrick Broze. Make sure you guys are following him on Twitter at dbrozelivefree. You can support him at derrickbroze.com. What are your thoughts on, I know you were in the studio when I was talking about Rand Paul and the new circus sideshow that's coming to town, Senate hearings, Anthony Fauci's going to get grilled on gain of function in the labs. And I see you mod trend on the live chat. I thought I heard Shannon say that she doesn't blame Fauci for the gain of function part. I blame Fauci in the same way I would blame an actor or a PR person who was pitching what was being done by the federal government and the Department of Defense and the United States military. And see, I think that's where this hyper focus on Anthony Fauci as the villain who cooked up a super scary virus in a lab and deployed it and killed 15 million people is a complete, it's not even a limited hangout. It's actually a bastardization of what we know actually happened in 2020 and 21. And so now we're going to get this narrow examination. They're going to try to rewrite the history of what COVID was, what the lockdowns were, and what actually killed people, and paint it in, this paradigm that vilifies only Anthony Fauci. Your thoughts on that, Derrick? Because I know you were raging against the lockdowns when it mattered. You were in all of this. Your thoughts on what's coming up at the Senate level?
I think that your analysis is 100% correct, Shannon. You mentioned the PCR. There's so many different pieces of this that are not going to be explored and aren't going to be discussed. And that, as you said, Rand Paul's not going to bring up. I did a mini documentary back in 2021 called The PCR Deception, just taking apart the whole thing from that angle. And there's so many different angles. But I think you're correct that this is an attempt to rewrite history. On one hand, to sort of feed the MAGA crowd and really anybody who is upset about what happened during COVID, and to give them the illusion that this is an attempt at getting justice. We're going to bring Fauci in front of him. We're going to grill him. It'll make a bunch of viral videos. But will anything happen? Will anybody go to jail? Will anybody be held accountable? I don't have any faith in that happening at all. Not only because, as you mentioned, the statute of limitations passing, but because they're coming at it with this sort of this fictional narrative that I think even in that clip, Rand Paul said he cooked up a virus that killed millions of people. It's like, no, we know that this, whatever it was, wasn't the cause of all the different deaths. There's so many different things, from the medicines they were treating people with, to the injections themselves, to the lockdowns, to, as you said, reclassifying deaths that had nothing to do with so-called COVID. All those sorts of questions are not even on the table. Instead, it's just, let's point the finger at Fauci. And that, again, they're sort of reinforcing the narrative that millions of people died because of what he allegedly cooked up in a lab. I just see it as more theater. It'll get some people to feel like maybe like kind of pacify them a little bit, like, okay, great, Fauci's finally being held accountable. He's being called to question, but he's going to walk out that day and he's going to go home and continue to collect millions of dollars and
Yes,
a
he
pension
is.
check and all those things. And it's, of course, important to remember that Donald Trump gave him the Presidential Medal of Freedom on his last day in office. So, I mean, they're not actually trying to get accountability here. If they were, then, there's lots of other steps that could have been taken by this point already.
I agree. And it's even worse than that. 2 points to reiterate what you just said. What Rand is doing, he is establishing a narrative. He is establishing a narrative that pushes the illusion that scientists could cook up super scary weaponized viruses that can be deployed and kill millions of people. And I feel like they need that narrative because they need it in order to frighten people into the next pandemic scare or the next scamdemic scare so that they can frighten people into being injected, which is the number one way to poison a person, right? So if they establish and I would say there are many scientists and epidemiologists and experts and researchers who would say it is impossible. Sasha Latipova has documented this extensively on her Substack, Due Diligence and Art, that it has never been proven that they can cook up a weaponized deadly virus and deploy it. That has never been established. They have never achieved that. They certainly would try to, and they might have the gain of function labs, but that is not established. But what better way to get MAGA Republicans and conservatives to lock themselves down again, Derrick, than to convince them that the next Democrat in office sent out an Anthony Fauci to cook up a weaponized virus and then we're all in lockdown again. So I think it's an even more dangerous and weaponized narrative that Rand Paul is pushing, whether he knows it or not, right? And I agree with you. The fact that the statute of limitations have run out. I was in an argument with one of my girlfriends because we were talking about, are you going to go down to Washington, D.C. to watch, this hearing? And I'm like, absolutely not. It's a circus sideshow. And I guarantee nothing's going to come out of it. But she said to me, well, it just makes me feel good. It's going to make me feel good. It's going to make me feel good to watch Anthony Fauci squirm and be questioned. And you know what I said to her, Derrick? I said, Anthony Fauci is not squirming. He's mocking you. He's going to go into this hearing. He knows nothing is going to happen. He knows it's a circus sideshow. He knows the statute of limitations has run out, and he's mocking you. And so is Rand Paul, and so is every other Republican that engages in these hearings, and so is the President of the United States of America. That's just my thought on it. They're mocking us.
Yeah. I mean, it's a similar thing with the different Epstein hearings that have come in. Like, I think, okay, it's great. We got Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton in front of a camera to be questioned, and Bill Gates and stuff like that. But ultimately, like you said, they're coming into these hearings with the awareness, even if it's a 5-hour hearing, they know that at the end of that 5 hours, they're walking out of there free. They're going back to their life. They're going to continue on. So at best, and I guess worst for them, they have to sit there and, plead the fifth and, answer a few questions, like you said, mockingly. But I don't think for a second anything's going to come out of that. And, to your other point about sort of creating this or setting up this narrative for a future pandemic, I think you're correct about that. I mean, I have mixed feelings on this because on one hand, it seems like the viral pandemic narrative doesn't seem to be an effective card anymore. Obviously, we've seen monkeypox, we've seen hantavirus, and even like the hantavirus, that thing's already disappeared, right? For like a couple of weeks, it was like, oh no, maybe this is the new thing. And then it just sort of goes away, right? And people aren't buying it. So I don't know that that they could even play that card if they tried, but I do think you're correct by keeping this idea that they are working on crazy things in labs. And, from my perspective, because I share the same criticism you have, I would add the caveat that whether or not they are cooking up gain of function, so-called viruses in the labs, they surely can weaponize fungus. They can weaponize spores. They can weaponize bacteria. I'm sure if they really wanted to release something that was actually going to kill people, they certainly could do so. And the sad fact of the matter is, now that they've showed that many of us have woken up and are questioning of these things, let's imagine there was some real, whatever you want to call it, going around hurting people. Unfortunately, our very skeptical minds probably wouldn't buy it anyways until maybe it was too late. So it's kind of puts us in this weird situation where, of course, I'm not just going to blindly trust the government when they say lock yourself at home, and they show us videos of people falling in the streets. We're going to be like, yeah, we remember this. We saw this last time. But if they ever did choose to find some sort of way to try to lower the population, which we know is a big goal of these eugenicists, that they want to depopulate the planet, you'd probably end up with a lot of people who would be skeptical and not listen one way or the other.
Right. I think it would be naive to think that they couldn't try to deploy something very damaging that could either maim or kill people. I think that that's absolutely on the agenda. But, I've had a lot of conversations with a lot of experts on this. And, our human bodies are very, very good at filtering out and protecting from poison, whether it's through the air, whether it's through food, whether it's something you ingest or you breathe in. Our bodies are most vulnerable to injections, which is why I think they always try to frighten us into an injection, because that is when they can do the absolute most damage. So I think
I'm with you on that. 100%.
The key is they're going to try it. But I don't think that they've mastered it. And frankly, I don't think they're ever going to be able to master it. I think that that the key here is resisting the fear, refusing to lock down, no matter how scary it is out there. And they're going to try to make it scary. You have to be ready to say, no, we're not going to give up our natural rights and our liberty, our spirit, our soul, or our freedom for any reason whatsoever, no matter how scary the thing is that you try to deploy against us. Like, that's where I am at this point. Like, there's nothing, aliens could come out, zombie apocalypse, throw it at me. I'm ready for it. Okay.
Whatever's next, we're ready.
Yeah, I'm not complying. Not happening. And that brings us to really the reason I brought you in today on the show. We're going to devote the rest of the show to the resistance, right? Because we need to resist. I think the first step to resisting is breaking out of the uniparty, the two-party political circus that is designed to frighten us and divide us and keep us distracted from what they're actually doing. And the key here is bottom-up, localized organization, building parallel institutions, getting out, meeting each other, making human connections. And Derrick Broze just embodies all of that. So when we come back, we're going to talk to you about what's important to you right now, what you're working on, what you have been reporting on. And then we're going to get into the anatomy of resistance. And we're going to use Mexico as an example. Massive headline. Massive victory. They have delayed the rollout of mandatory digital ID in Mexico because of mass revolt, people pushing back. So we're going to look at that resistance. We're going to look at how we can mirror that and accelerate that here in the United States of America. And we're also going to talk about your tour, because you're hitting the road. You're going to crisscross the United States of America, teaching people how to activate and engage locally. And I can't wait to hear about it. So does that sound good to you, Derrick?
It's perfect. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Okay, let's go to a commercial break. Guys, please remember that we couldn't bring the Shannon Joy Show to you every day if it weren't for our sponsors. We love the folks over at Schiff Gold, the wellness company, the satellite phone store, and of course, PCM and Associates. So when we go to commercial breaks, like, it really matters. If you're in the market for any of the products or the goods or the services provided by the advertisers of the Shannon Joy Show, please patronize them. Use the promo code JOY every time you shop. This is how they know that the advertising is working, and it's how we keep the lights on here on the Shannon Joy Show. We are a small operation. I'm in many ways a one-woman show with a small staff of people that help me put the show together every day. We're lean, we're mean, we're independent, but we always need your help. And so you can do that through direct donations at theshannonjoy.com, theshannonjoy.com, $5 a month, $10 a month, every amount helps. But also patronizing our advertisers. This is the way that we're going to grow the show. So with that being said, we're going to take a quick commercial break. Maybe you should buy something. Who knows? We'll be back in a minute to continue this conversation with our good friend, Derrick Broze. Here at the Shannon Joy Show, use the promo code JOY at twc.health/joy. That's here at the Shannon Joy Show. Use the promo code to our sponsors if you are in the market. To our sponsors if you are in the market for anything over at the wellness company. So your ivermectin, your Fenben, your pharmaceutical products, if you need telehealth, if you need an emergency kit, anything that you need regarding health, pharmacy and nutraceuticals, go to twc.health/joy and use my joy promo code every single time. A lot of you guys have prescriptions that you get every single month. If you switch over to TWC, some people can get free prescriptions, which is amazing. They have a great program there for you, and which is absolutely amazing. And every time you get that prescription, you're reminding them why they advertise. Hey everyone, I just want to take a moment to thank one of my longtime friends, associates, my financial advisor, and a beloved sponsor of the Shannon Joy Show, Don Polano over at PCM and Associates. Don Polano, as many of you know, was the very first Shannon Joy Show advertiser almost 12 years ago, and he's been with us ever since. I trust Don Polano. He manages some of my assets and my retirement fund, and he's offering his services to all of you. He can take clients anywhere in the country and even across the globe over at PCM and Associates. And as you guys know, it is so important today. There's so much volatility and chaos. You need a human being, a person that you trust, and a person that shares your values. And that's Don Polano at PCM and Associates. So if you are looking for someone to help you manage your retirement or have investment advice, please consider calling Don Polano over at PCM and Associates. His number, 1-800-536-1368. That's 1-800-536-1368. And of course, you can go to PCMPolano.com. That is PCMPolano.com to learn about all of his services and get in contact with his team. Again, so thankful for Don Polano at PCM and Associates. And I think that you are really going to appreciate his services. So that number again, 1-800-536-1368 for a financial advisor that you can trust. Love Don Polano over at PCM and Associates. I've been working with him for well over 15 years, closer to 20 years. He is an amazing financial advisor, and I trust him implicitly. Make sure that you visit his website, PCMPolano.com. Give him a call. Let him know that Shannon Joy sent you, and he will take extra great care of you and maybe tell you a funny story or so from way back in the day. So that is PCMPolano.com. I want to say hello to everyone who is live chatting on Rumble right now. If you're watching on YouTube, in the next break, I'm going to take a look at your comments, so get them ready and your questions. The live chat on Rumble is absolutely heating up. We have Hell's Bay with us. Hey, Dakota Feather, great to see you. Jumbled Butts is with us on live chat. That's quite a name, Jumble. Appreciate you and your comments. Hey, Trip 577, great to see you. Johnny Reb 1860. If you guys are watching on Rumble, please leave a comment. Smash that thumbs up button right now. Follow the Shannon Joy Show and join us on the chat. Jump in. The water is warm. The best chatters, the most informative, friendly, feistiest chatters on all of my live chats. And we also have longtime listener who is with us as well. Hey, Rothen Walker, great to see you. Futurez with us as well. Live Free or Perish. Great to see all of you. All right, without further ado, we are going to welcome back into the Joy Virtual Studio our good friend, Derrick Broze. You can follow him on the Twit. His handle is at DBrozeLiveFree. His website is derrickbroze.com. And we're going to talk about the revolt, the revolution. I'm here for it. I love it. The flock cameras. People are cutting them down, throwing trash bags over them. They're going out to city council, raging against the flock cameras. And a ton of cities and towns have gotten rid of them completely, which is great. We'll talk about. But I want to talk about Mexico first, because linked in the show notes of the Shannon Joy Show is this headline. The Mexican government has delayed now biometric registration. That's the digital ID. There was a deadline until after massive public resistance, and that's the key word. Derrick Broze is the author of that article. Derrick, tell us about what's going on down in Mexico. What can we learn from it?
Yeah, thank you, Shannon, for giving this story some light, because I do think it's instructive and can be, something useful for people around the world in terms of how we can slow down and hopefully eventually end these programs. So I've been living here in Mexico for the last 6 years, and last summer there was a set of laws, controversial laws, that were passed by the Mexican government. It was a whole package of laws, kind of like you could say Mexico's version of the Big Beautiful Bill, where there's so much stuff in there. Over time, people just realized how bad it was, and some of the things included in there, as you mentioned, were biometrics. There's something called the CURP, which is basically like the Mexican Social Security card, which has since the 90s been just a plain card, physical, nothing digital, as Mexico is really not completely digitized like most of the Western world. There are certain services that, of course, are digital, but a lot of the governmental services are not. And so this has been part of an effort to sort of move it further into digital world, and saying that your CURP number, for those who have that, either residents or citizens, that would become biometric, meaning that you would have to now scan your fingerprints and your face and have that connected to your CURP. So that was one of the big announcements. That is still an ongoing program. They haven't set any kind of deadlines for that, but they're claiming that at some point in the future, there will be a requirement where you have to be biometrically registered in order to have phone and internet service. So of course, it was immediately like, okay, this is, not a good sign. And one of the other pieces of that package of bills said that individuals who are on prepaid phone lines, those who do month to month, which by some estimates, some statistics say it's 80% of the country that are not on contracts, that are just for one reason or another choose to do the prepaid monthly service, that they would need to register their phones with their identity. Now, Mexico is one of apparently only a handful of countries. I believe the US, you can still walk into a Walmart and other places like that and buy a SIM card without showing an ID. Mexico is like that, where you could go to any corner store, you can buy, as many SIM cards as you want. You don't have to show your name, ID, anything, and you get a phone number and you can activate that. And this is useful, of course, for journalists who are concerned about their safety, for activists concerned about their privacy, for domestic violence victims who want to, kind of have some level of anonymity, and really just anybody who wants to practice that. And so it's very common. But the Mexican government claimed that as of today, actually July 1st, this was the deadline they gave, that they only announced this in January. They said everybody around the country, the 160 million people, must have their phones registered, connected to their identity. And that is the CURP that I mentioned. So effectively, basically saying you need to not only show your identity, but if you don't have your biometric CURP yet, you need to update that and go ahead and register for the biometrics. So this is a big thing that myself and other Mexican activists that I know out here have been kind of keeping an eye on and watching and waiting to see what's going to happen. And as it got closer and closer, it was becoming clear that most people were not complying. As of 2 months ago, there was some news report saying that it was as low as 10% of the country had registered. Then there was some numbers saying 20%. The most recent one I saw about a month ago claimed that it was 31%. So it was pretty clear that no matter what numbers you believe, somewhere between 10 to 30%, more than half of the country was not complying. And there's different reasons. Some people were saying the registration process was confusing. Others were adamantly against it for the same reasons you and I would be, because they want to preserve their privacy. There's, a very historic mistrust of the Mexican government out here. And that's something I think is a positive thing, that people just know that they can't trust the government because of the sort of incestuous relationship between the cartels and, organized crime and government. And not only that, like literally after the government had passed these laws in the last year since then, there have been 2 data breaches, including millions of people's health records were leaked online and stuff like that. So there's plenty of people saying, you want us to give you more information and you can't even protect the information that you already have with us.
Right.
And so I've been kind of just watching and reporting on it this whole time. And then last week, as the deadline, we're 1 week away, there started to be a rumor that the Mexican government was about to announce a deadline. And sure enough, last Thursday, they held a press conference and they released this press release from their telecommunications agency where they said, they didn't completely admit defeat, because, that's not what governments do. They still want to try to save face. They said, well, we want to give people more time. The process was maybe too rushed. So they announced a sort of staggered deadline, which honestly I think is going to be more of a cluster mess. It's going to probably create more confusion, because now what they're saying is, like I said, as of today, if they had gone through today, more than 60 million up to 80 million Mexicans, depending on which numbers you believe, would have had their phone lines cut off for choosing not to register. But
Wow.
because they realized, like, not only it's the middle of the World Cup in Mexico, you'd probably have a riot for people who can't get access to their phone internet service if they can't watch soccer. But also just people were just not interested in it. You know, I've been following Mexican media, and there's been some good news media doing man on the street interviews, for example, and they've been talking to people and say, hey, have you registered your phone yet? Do you plan to? And the majority of people, old and young, said, I don't plan to do that. I have no interest in doing that. Some of them were very bold, like, this is part of Agenda 2030. This is all about digital IDs. And so it seems like some people really know what's up. Others were just like, yeah, we don't trust the government. And there were some who were like, oh, I'm going to wait and see. And then there were some who even said, well, I did register, but you know what? Since I registered, I think I'm getting even more scam calls, because the whole reason the government is claiming they want to do this, like governments tend to do, they promise you it's good for you. So they have said that the problem with these anonymous SIM cards is that there are criminals who do kidnappings, and they will kidnap people and extort them, and they will use anonymous SIM cards. And that crime does happen in some parts of the country. They also say there's a lot of fraud calls, just like in the US. You know, people get constant spam calls, scammers trying to call them. So they're claiming the answer to this, not to go after the criminal element, but to force the rest of the innocent, you know, just order following good citizens to go ahead and comply and get all them to register the biometrics, when we know for sure the criminals aren't going to register their phones.
Of course not.
The whole thing doesn't make any sense in the first place.
Derrick, this is everything. This is everything. I'm telling you, people always want, I talk to so many people about organizing, activating, fixing this, fixing that, stopping this, stopping that. It's always elect a politician, take a case to the federal court or the Supreme Court, get a piece of legislation, get behind a politician. Like, it's always this apparatus of the government that we need to go in and beg and plead the champions to take up our cause and help us do this thing. And I've been telling people for 10 years, just stop complying, refuse to comply. Absolutely. Civil disobedience, refuse to comply with unjust laws, just say no. They can't stop you when you do that. In this example in Mexico, and people will say, oh, well, they're just going to delay it and they're going to try to do it again, then say no again. It's easier the second time, y'all. It's not that hard to do. And we learned this from the LA Unified. We saw this in play with the vaccines and the rollout of Operation Warp Speed. At the end of the day, it was always voluntary. They were never able to fully say, you have to get a vaccine. I mean, it was on the books, but you have to get a vaccine or else the federal government is going to come arrest you, strap you down, and stick a needle on your arm. Like, they would love to do that, but they never, ever had the guts to do that. And it was always, at the very end of the day, voluntary. Okay. It's going to be the same way with digital IDs. It's going to be the same way with surveillance. You have to allow them to surveil you. You have to give in to what they're asking you to do. And what we're seeing in Mexico is that when you just say no and you share that information and you call their bluff, they're going to back off. Like, Absolutely. To me, it's everything. Remember, LA Unified School District. They were going to be the first school district in the nation to mandate COVID shots for every student as a condition of being enrolled at LA Unified. And you know what 80% of the parents did? They said, F you, double middle finger. We're not doing it. We're not complying. And they won in California. It wasn't a bill. It wasn't a court case. It wasn't a piece of legislation. It wasn't a presidential election or a senatorial election or any of those things. It was people just standing up, getting together, talking to one another and saying no. Like, I feel like this is the big idea, Derrick. Am I overstating this? Do you think I'm being naive?
No, I think that, I mean, that's kind of what the reason I'm trying to get this story out in front of more people. Because I mean, some people might say, like you said, well, this is Mexico, a different country, it doesn't apply here. I think it's a great example of what can happen, just like you're talking about the LA situation. Let me just outline their solution real quick before I comment on that. So they delayed it. Like I said, today there's no millions of people being phones cut off, but today was the deadline as we're speaking, and it didn't happen. So that's, to me, it's a victory, even if it may be a small victory, a temporary victory, because yes, they did not completely cancel the program. We'll see where it goes. But their solution, they said, is now a staggered staggered implementation. So they put out this guide that says, okay, based on your last digit of your phone number. So if you have 0 as your last number, you have till August 15th. If you have number 1, you have till September 1st, and so on and so forth until the end of the year. So I think, and this is what some people are arguing, well, now what they're trying to do is they're trying to isolate us, right? So maybe they think if they can just get the zeros and then pressure the zeros to comply, well, then they can pressure everybody else. But still, I don't think that's going to work the way they think it will. I don't think it's going to make much of a difference, because in a country with 160 million people, let's imagine there's even just as low as 10 million people with 0 as their number. So if the stats that we were seeing hold up somewhere between 10 to 30%, that's still 7 to 8 million people that they're threatening to potentially cut the phone lines off. I don't think it's simply just a matter, even though the government would like to portray it like this, I don't think it's a matter of we just need more time. It's just that people don't trust them. They don't want to do it. So giving more time, I don't think is going to be the solution. And so, and for me, honestly, as an activist, now I feel like, okay, we've got, we made this little victory, but the game's not over now. But now we have a new deadline. So for the next 30 something days, we're trying to educate as many people as possible. We've been doing a lot of organizing down here in Mexico, both in Spanish and in English. We're really trying to build a bilingual movement of people who are paying attention to things like Agenda 2030 to push even hard and to say, this is another chance to prove that they can't coerce us and compel us to do things that we know are not right. And when you look across Twitter, if anybody starts, getting into Mexican journalists and searching through Twitter, which is, they easy to translate everything now, you can see the responses. They are not kind to their politicians. People are making it very well known that, like, hey, you can take this registration and shove it kind of comments. Like,
they're cooked. Derrick, they're cooked. The government is cooked. They're not going to be able to put this genie back in the bottle without brute force, and they don't have the balls to do it. I'm telling you right now.
They don't have the balls, and they don't have the infrastructure. I mean, I will say this is one of the reasons why I did choose to move to Mexico. I mean, my family's still in the U.S. I love the U.S., of course, and I continue to fight for it. But I love that the Mexican government is so mistrusted. I love that it is disorganized. I love, there's a certain level of corruption that I think is actually good for the people in terms of they're not effective. And when they try to, the one difference maybe between the U.S. or Canada or the U.K. is, generally speaking, when the government says, here's a new law and it has now been passed, it's on the books, it's going into the implementation on this date and time, some people resist, some people push back, and occasionally we do overturn those bad laws. But by and large, when they set a date, when that date comes, it happens. But in places like Mexico, just because a law has been passed or some government official gives a proclamation, the average person is just living their life. They're like, another example, Claudia Sheinbaum has claimed that by the end of this year, she said this a couple months ago, that by the end of this year, they're going to stop allowing people to pay for their gas with cash and stop letting people pay for their tolls, because Mexico, has a nationwide toll system. And they're claiming that the toll booths aren't going to take cash, the gas stations aren't going to take cash in 6 months. By the end of this year, that's what they're claiming, which is just ridiculous. There's no way it's going to happen, especially in a country like Mexico where 80% of the people still use cash on a daily basis. But that doesn't mean they're not trying these agendas. They're trying to see how far they can push things. And I just have to kind of sit back and laugh, because I will tell you what's been frustrating for me as someone living in Mexico, reporting on Mexico. When these laws passed last year, there were so many different viral clips from people who personally I think should know better on Twitter and elsewhere saying Mexico has a digital ID, all hope is lost. And they just sort of immediately assume, well, because the government passed the law, that means that life has changed, but daily life hasn't changed. And here we are 1 year later, and their plan has basically failed. They've been delayed, at least for the moment. So I think it's just important for people to understand that just because the government says something doesn't mean it has to become our reality. And that applies to the US and anywhere else. In this case, there weren't any major protests that took place. It was just people saying, I'm not going to do that. It was people dragging their feet and saying, okay, I'll wait till the last minute. And enough people dragged their feet and enough people said, no, I'm not going to do that, that the government realized that, okay, if we take this to the deadline, we're either going to cut off 70 million people's phone numbers and see if there's riots in our country and see how that goes, or we're going to have to delay this a little further, kick the can a little further down the road. And so I think this is a success that we can all learn from.
Derrick, this is a huge success. The story is linked in the show notes of the Shannon Joy Show. And I think the biggest takeaway is that just because our politicians pass an illegal, unconstitutional, immoral law or statute or mandate, that does not mean that we have to obey it. In fact, we are compelled, we have a duty to disobey unjust laws. It's what Martin Luther King
100%.
talked about in his letter from Birmingham jail. And it is what we're going to be called to do here in the United States of America as we face our own version of this. They are going to try to put through legislation. And I love that. I love the idea that they can pass anything they want in Washington, D.C. That doesn't mean we have to obey it, especially if it violates our ethics, our values, the Constitution of the United States of America, and common decency and common sense. So that's where we're going. That's where the discussion is going in the United States of America. I'm here for it. I'm ready for it. It's why we need parallel institutions. We need to build from the bottom up. It's why we need strong, robust local organizations going to the town board meetings and the village board meetings and the zoning meetings and the student, the school board meetings. Like all of these things are so absolutely critically important. And I think everything is beginning to point towards that. The KIDS Act, it passed in the United States House of Representatives. It's the Trojan horse digital ID bill that they are trying to use to compel all Americans under the guise of protecting children on the internet. It is a monstrosity. It's a bipartisan bill. It passed in the House of Representatives just a couple days ago. It's moving to the Senate. We're going to try to fight it in the Senate, Derrick. But in this case, I don't even care if it passes. The implementation is where they're going to get all wrapped up. This is where it's going to become impossible for them. Implementing this is going to be incredibly difficult. But I'd like to get your thoughts on the KIDS Act and that piece of legislation, the rollout of digital ID, potentially digital currencies in the U.S., maybe the use of a manufactured crisis,
sure,
economic, World War III in order to do that. I mean, what are your thoughts about what's going on here in the U.S.? We're going to take a break, and then when we come back, we'll talk about your tour in the U.S. But let's go there to KIDS Act, digital ID, digital currency.
Sounds great. So, yeah, first I'll say, as far as, some sort of inciting event that might make these types of laws easy to pass, I am sending out prayers that everything goes just simple and peaceful this weekend for July 4th, because in my mind, for the last couple of years, I've thought, well, if you wanted to stage a false flag attack, the 250th anniversary of the U.S. independence, especially with Trump making such a big deal about it, especially after they claimed that they stopped some alleged terror attack during the UFC fight with drones, this would be the perfect time to try to pull something and scare the crap out of people and get them to accept, these types of laws. So let's hope and pray that does not happen.
Hey, Derrick, just to interrupt you for a moment. Have you seen that no one is showing up for the festival?
I have. I was watching the videos yesterday. It was I did laugh a little. I have to admit.
That's hilarious. I mean, if they were going to do something, it would probably be in Washington, D.C., and it would probably involve all the people who are traipsing out to, engage in Donald Trump's MAGA festival. No one is there. No one is there. Like, wow, that's insane.
Which I guess might make it easier to pull off something like that, because you could just put all your own people there and stage whatever and tell people what happened. But
everyone's going to know. Everyone's going to be like, no one's going to believe it. It's like we live in the strangest times. We live in the strangest times.
Unfortunately, as we learned with COVID, if you put something on the screen and flash it enough time, people will believe it, and especially throw in AI. In terms of the KIDS Act and these sorts of things, it to me, this is related to what we're seeing in Mexico. For example, I had somebody comment to me after I released that article saying, maybe this is a sign, and I know this might be sort of totally out of left field for some people because of our completely digital modern world, but maybe these types of laws are also kind of a reminder, at least a chance for us to reflect on how much we've built our lives around these digital tools, right? And maybe also to try to, this is what a lot of my work focuses on, is like, how do we become free from these systems as much as possible, even as a backup plan? I'm not saying go live in the woods and abandon everything digital, but if push comes to shove, and let's say they do push the phone registration in Mexico, or they do push the internet ID in order to access the internet to protect the kids, like they're claiming, just like in Mexico, they say it's about stopping extortion and fraud and kidnapping. In the US, it's all about protecting the kids. They're always going to use some sort of excuse to push their Trojan horses through. But maybe this also presents an opportunity for us to think about that. Like, okay, if this bill, this one or some future version does come through, because there's been talk of this for years, of maybe we need an internet ID in order to make sure that kids don't access porn, or to make sure that kids are protected from AI, or just whatever the reasons may be. And some of those reasons are legitimate, of course. Like there's lots of concerns of what kids have access to. But I don't think the answer is to make government our mommy and daddy. It's for parents to get more involved in people's lives and to play a bigger role. But the point being, if they are able to push these things through, we probably should start thinking about, well, what are we going to do to communicate? What would I do, if I have to show my biometric, scan my face just to get on the internet in the future,
Right.
or just to access my phone, and start to understand where that red line in the sand is for you. Because if you don't know where that red line is, you're going to keep getting pushed, you're going to keep getting nudged, and you're going to, just like with COVID, you're going to keep accepting things that maybe you wish you wouldn't have. There was plenty of people who were concerned about the injections. We all knew they were coming, and you're reading about them, you're watching podcasts, and then when the day finally came and they rolled out, and your job says, do you want to keep working? You get this injection, or you're fired. Or you want to travel? You get this injection, or you can't go anywhere.
Right.
A lot of people, unfortunately, did comply, even though they didn't want to, because they had no backup plan, because they didn't have any sort of alternative path. They weren't sort of looking for any other way out. So I think that's one of the takeaways for me, is just kind of reinforcing that of like, yes, let's resist these things where we can. Push back, absolutely. Drag your feet, slow down, go to the school board, the town board, everything you can to prevent these things. And in the event that we are unable to prevent this massive technocratic state that, these corporate heads and governments and secret societies and trillions of dollars have been invested into for decades now, if we're unable to prevent that, then we probably should also start thinking about what we're going to do in the event that those things do go through, and how can we thrive in the face of that. That's really, where a lot of my energy goes into these days.
I think that is the appropriate, absolutely appropriate place to put your energy, Derrick. I think you are absolutely 100% spot on, because people were not prepared to lose their jobs. They were not prepared to lose relationships, friendships, opportunities in exchange for declining a shot. So, we actually have gotten a sneak preview as to where we're going with this. I think with the digital ID and the digital currency, the good news is we are way more organized today than we were in March of 2020. We were gobsmacked by the psychological operation, the military operation that was rolled out across this country and across every Western democracy on the face of the planet. It was extraordinary what happened to us in 2020. I think today, millions upon millions more are awake. They understand this apparatus. They understand the nature of the psyop and the fear propaganda. And so I think it's going to be easier to ramp up the resistance than it was in 2020 and 21, because a lot of people's minds were blown by all of this in that time. And I think we've also begun to exercise that resistance muscle. We've already had these conversations with our families, right? It's a great time to think about what can you do with, what can you do without in terms of technology. What do you use for technology? Are you okay with going to burner phones? Are you okay with using a satellite phone? I mean, these are all discussions that we could have and that we are going to need to have. And I'm going to say the play is to delay. The play is to delay. Organize and delay. Organize and delay. It will fall. Their apparatus will fall apart. And that was the play that worked for the COVID shots. And that is why in the United States of America, uniquely American, 30% of the American population refused the COVID shots, regardless of losing jobs, opportunities, reputation. That didn't happen in any other Western democracy. It didn't happen anywhere else in the world. The uptake in European nations and Western democracies was around 98 to 99%. Not in the United States of America. So we're going to need to get ready to do that again, you guys. Sorry, it's not over. The attack on our liberty. Everybody thought that electing Donald Trump and putting Bobby in at HHS is going to save us all from the COVID monsters and the new world order and the digital tech lords. And in fact, they ended up being, meet the new boss, same as the old boss, the other side of the coin. And I think now people are finally waking up to that. And I've been waiting for that for 3 years, Derrick. It's been a long wait. Yeah, you saw it right from the beginning, right?
Yeah, I definitely have been calling out this whole thing for quite a while. But it's, to me, it's not about tooting my horn or rubbing anybody's face. Like at this point, the way I feel is like, look, if you voted for Trump once, twice, or 3 times, but you finally see through it, like, let's work together. Let's stop what's happening.
That's why I went on Alex Jones's show the day before yesterday. He had me on his show. It was crazy. I'm like, I was in opposition to him because of the allegiance with Trump for so long.
Sure.
And I'm thankful for his voice. I'm thankful for his platform. I understand, maybe or maybe not. Some of these platforms are limited hangouts. I don't care. As long as you're operating in a truth space with me right now at this moment, I'm good. I'm good with aligning. And I think that we could encourage everyone to do that, even Democrats. By the way, the ACLU is all up in on this flock resistance. So I've never been a fan of the ACLU, but hey, I'm down for it. Let's go. The more the merrier. We need more people fighting back against the flock cameras and surveillance. And when we come back, we're going to talk to Derrick about that. Organization, activation, parallel institutions, exit and build. He is going to be on tour across the United States of America. It is the U.S. Activation Tour. Information is linked in the show notes of the Shannon Joy Show. You can scroll down and grab that. We're going to hear about that when we come back as we conclude this show with our good friend, Derrick Broze. Make sure that you are following him on Twitter and also supporting him on his website as well, linked in the show notes of the Shannon Joy Show. We'll be back in a moment to continue the discussion. He also said this: it looks like the correction in the tech stocks, so not just Bitcoin, but that bubble that we are talking about, has finally begun. That's bad news for Bitcoin and the tech stocks, as the tech rally was its main support. As we see the tech stocks begin to sell off, Bitcoin should crash. Gold will likely head in the opposite direction as investors now finally begin to buy a true safe haven asset. We haven't seen huge gains in gold and silver because the dominance of the PSYOP, the marketing campaign, the propaganda campaign that has been waged against the American people and against the markets over the past 3 years, hyping up the AI bubble relentlessly. I've never seen anything like it. At some point, people are going to realize, and investors are going to realize, retail investors and institutional investors are going to realize that there's no there there. And everybody is realizing it now. I'm seeing it all over my social media. Everything that we told you here on the Shannon Joy Show is coming true. And this is when people move into safe haven assets. Safe haven assets for, the entirety of human history have been gold and silver, predominantly gold. If you do not have a gold strategy, I want to highly encourage you to go to shiftgold.com/joy. That is shiftgold.com/joy ASAP, like today, to get your metal strategy in place. At Shift Gold, you can buy and sell physical gold and silver. You can explore hedging against the chaos with a gold or silver-backed IRA. And he even has an option for tokenized gold, which gives you the ability to buy physical gold and silver. You don't take custody of it, but you can buy it in smaller chunks. So you can allocate $50, $100, $200 a month to that tokenized gold. And as soon as you hit a certain threshold, you can trade it in and you can actually take custody of your physical gold and silver. It's a great option for people who don't have enough money to meet those reserves if you're buying physical gold and silver, and for younger investors, people who want to begin to hedge. So that's shiftgold.com/joy, shiftgold.com/. All right, make sure that every time you shop at the satellite phone store, sat123.com/joy, that is sat123.com/joy, you are using the JOY promo code. That is going to get you at least 10% off your entire order. And if you're looking at products like generators or solar panels, if you're looking at a satellite phone and you're going to get a satellite phone subscription, those could be upwards over thousands of dollars. So that 10% discount is going to be huge. But they do have the entire line of Faraday products, the dark bags. So these are amazing. The Faraday technology not only protects you from harmful EMF radiation, but it also protects your phone from an EMP attack or any type of breakdown. So great products. The Faraday collection also shields you, protects you from the prying eyes of the federal government or the big tech bros. That's right. When you drop your phone or your device into a satellite phone store Faraday bag or backpack, you're off the grid. you are untraceable. They can't find you. And it gives you that added element of privacy while also protecting you from those harmful EMF radiation rays. So just really great technology, the best out there, and at the best prices when you use that JOY promo code. So sat123.com.
My name is Brett, and I've been a Corona resident in District 4 for 15 years. I'm here to introduce DeFlock Corona, a community coalition asking this council to cancel the city's contract with Flock Safety and remove the cameras that have been deployed throughout our city. Our website is deflock-corona.org. I'm here because new Flock cameras were recently installed between my home and my daughter's school. So now every time I make that drive, my family's being photographed and logged into a giant corporate database. I want to be clear what these cameras actually are, and I say that with somebody with 20 years of experience in IT. I've served as the chief network architect for Fortune 500 companies. I've designed data centers, and today I work on cloud infrastructure for one of the largest loan origination companies in the country. I'm not speculating on how this technology works. I've read their patents, and I know how it works. Flock advertises these cameras as simple license plate readers. Their own patents tell a different story. They're AI-powered surveillance machines that capture every passing vehicle and person and transmit that data to a private corporate cloud, making it queryable by a multitude of state and federal agencies. The city of Corona does not control that database, and Corona residents have no public record rights against a private company's servers. Our daily movements are being harvested by a $7.5 billion corporation that only answers to venture capital investors, not to us. Flock did not reach that valuation on their per camera subscription fees. That math doesn't add up. The city council should also understand who they're doing business with. Flock's CEO was asked whether the company had any federal contracts. He said no, that was a lie. Public records revealed that Flock had been secretly running a pilot program giving the U.S. Border Patrol access to local police camera data without the knowledge of the cities that paid for the cameras. Now consider who's behind the company and where your data flows. Flock integrates directly with Palantir, a data fusion platform with a $30 million contract with ICE. Peter Thiel, the founder of Palantir, is also one of Flock's primary investors. These are not separate companies with separate agendas. They're connected actors that are building a connected infrastructure. Palantir's own CEO stated publicly just this month that his technology is being used as a political instrument designed to reduce the political power of certain voters. And that's the ecosystem that our Corona cameras are feeding into. We're not anti-police at all. We're against mass surveillance of innocent residents by a company with a documented record of deception, built by investors with a stated political agenda. We're asking the City Council to start auditing the queries made against Flock's database to disclose any data sharing agreements and to take a vote to cancel the Flock safety contract.
And cancel the Flock safety contract. It's what's happening across the United States of America. That was in Corona, California. But there have been many notable city actions and cancellations in just the past couple weeks. In California, Mountain View shut off their cameras after unauthorized federal access. Santa Cruz terminated their contracts in a 6-1 vote. Cambridge deactivated their Flock cameras along with Richmond, Berkeley, and Los Altos Hills. In Oregon, we have Eugene and Springfield suspending contracts for Flock cameras after resident campaigns and vandalism. Arizona, Flagstaff has deactivated and removed their cameras. Texas, Illinois, Ohio, and others like Hillsborough, North Carolina, Stoughton, Virginia, and Mountain Lake Terrace, Washington. Towns and villages are rising up. Americans are placing trash bags over the Flock cameras. They are cutting them down. There are organizations like DeFlock Me and Flight for the Future. They are linked in the show notes of the Shannon and Joy Show. The Flock Out movement provides toolkits, petitions, and strategies for city council advocacy. And dozens of municipalities have responded. The ACLU and EFF have also gotten involved, along with many other local groups like DeFlock Atlanta, DeFlock Emory, and city-specific coalitions. This is not a left or right thing. This is not a Democrat or Republican thing. Derrick Broze, this is a full-scale revolt against the surveillance state, and I love every bit of it. What are your thoughts?
I agree. I know you mentioned a couple websites there. I want to just mention DeFlock.org is another one that's kind of like a main hub, and they're
Nice.
actually planning a national week of action. It's August 16th through the 22nd. It's at
All right.
noalprs.com, or you just go to deflock.org, get a link there. And so, yeah, there are people coming together on these issues. And, to your point you made before the break about the ACLU, I saw some of the comments, people who are skeptical, which I get, like the skepticism of the ACLU, especially in recent years. They've kind of focused more on transgender stuff, and and there's even like with the original founder of the ACLU, he did an op-ed piece, I think, in the New York Times a couple of years ago, saying how the organization had lost its way. But I will
Wow.
say, despite all that, like the EFF, as you mentioned, Electronic Frontier Foundation, the Electronic Privacy Information Center, EPIC, ACLU, there's organizations like that do stand up, at least when it comes to surveillance. We might not agree with them on some other issues they take
Right.
on, but
Right.
these are organizations that have been around for a long time. And I can say, even going back to my early activism in journalism in Houston, when I was exposing the Houston Police Department using automatic license plate readers and using cell phone surveillance tools called Stingrays, one of the only organizations that actually was willing to kind of partner with me, we did a teach-in to just share this knowledge with my community, was the local ACLU chapter. So you don't need to agree with them on everything in order to find these times of where we can, build alliances around issues that we care about.
I'm finding that I share much in common with classical liberals, Democrats who are not, LGBTQ and Black Lives Matter oriented. They're not crazy, purple haired, weirdos. They like the Constitution. They love the
Sure.
Constitution. They're classical liberals, and a lot of those Democrats were Democrats that I stood up with in the dark days of COVID lockdowns, when the entirety of the right-wing media apparatus and the right-wing government led by the right-wing Republican president Donald Trump had nothing to say. It was Democrats that we had to align with in those early days. Now, when Biden came into office, the Republicans came out and organized, and so I hung out
Right.
with them. I'm going to hang out with anyone who is on the right side of history, who loves our Constitution and liberal and liberty, and has their head on straight, and aren't so partisan that they cannot see the attack coming from both sides. So
Absolutely.
I think we're going to need to learn to play nice with people that we might not always agree with, as we align on certain topics and certain issues. I agree with you 100%.
Absolutely. It's going to be so key to thriving in the future. We're going to have to put aside our differences and see where we can actually find common ground.
Yeah. Let's talk about parallel institutions. Let's talk about exit and build. And let's talk about your American tour. You're going to be out and about in the United States of America, urging and advocating people to become independent, to get involved at the community level, and to prepare for whatever it is that they are going to throw at us. Tell us about that, and what you plan to bring here to the U.S. in terms of help and for organizing, preparing, and resisting.
Yeah. Absolutely. Thank you for that, Shannon. So this is the first, this is actually my fifth tour I've done, the fourth in the US, but it's the first time I've gone on a tour since 2021. Last time I toured the US, I did 50 cities in the height of COVID in the fall of 2021. And
Wow.
really at that time, of course, the message was like, hey guys, the vaccines are coming. What are you going to do? The message was very similar in some ways, but there was, I think, more momentum at that time because really COVID was a great gift in the sense that it pushed a lot of people to finally take action. People who are like, oh, okay, I'm awake, I'm aware, I get it. New world order, maybe one day. But then all of a sudden COVID put the fear and the threat right in our faces.
Right.
And so a lot of people chose to act, whether that meant moving from one city to a different town or one state to another, or for me, one country to another, or simply getting more involved in their school board, people learning about growing food, people taking care of their health, all these different kinds of ideas. And so for me, it was a really exciting time. And the reason I'm going on tour again now is because unfortunately what I'm seeing is that a lot of people who were paying attention during COVID 1984 seem to have kind of gone back to sleep, or at least they're sort of like, well, the threat isn't in my face 24/7, so I don't need to be focusing on solutions as much. And as you mentioned earlier, some people fell for the narrative that, well, we got Trump in there, we got RFK in there, so I don't have to do anything anymore. Hopefully that's becoming more and more clear to people that that's not a solution, and that we do need to take our own freedom and our own liberties, not only us, but for the coming generations after us, for our children, grandchildren, and beyond. what kind of world are they going to be born into? Is it
Mm-hmm.
going to be the Great Reset, Agenda 2030, all these things, digital IDs, everything that we know that these people would like to see? Or is it going to be something else different? What I've been calling Liberation 2030, which is really just, a name that I've given for each of us to kind of think about our own visions. These people are spending trillions of dollars. They're meeting in the Bilderberg group. They're meeting at Peter Thiel's dialogue. They're meeting at all these different globalist meetings, planning and plotting for their future. How much time are we as free, powerful, beautiful individuals putting into our own future? I know that me and you as journalists, as podcasters, we put out information because we think it's valuable, it's important. But I feel confident that I don't think you're just doing this for entertainment. I think you actually want to see change in the world. I know that's what I want. But I think some people just get sucked into, well, let me watch Shannon, let me watch Derrick, let me watch Alex Jones, let me watch this person. And they're just sort of watching the world get worse like this is a TV show. But it's real life. And we need people to go beyond just being awake. And this is why I talk about being activated, because I think we need to be actively working on the liberation of humanity for the coming generations. And so that's a big part of the message that I'm going to be sharing. I've already done in May, I did the Southwest US and the West Coast. We went up to Portland and in Salt Lake City and Boise, Idaho. And I've been home for a few weeks now. And I'm actually about to drive back to the US this weekend. And the tour will pick up next Friday in Houston. We have 3 dates in Texas that we're going to go to Wichita. We're going to Missouri, up to Minneapolis. We're going to be in Cleveland, Columbus, Chicago. We're going to Baltimore, Pittsburgh, New York, Atlanta, Nashville, and we're doing 2 dates in Florida. So I'm going to be on the road for 3 weeks.
Wow.
Talking about this message and really, besides me sharing my message, Shannon, I think as you have already hinted at a couple times, what's most important is bringing people together. So if I can use whatever little internet celebrity I have to say, hey guys, I'm coming to town. If you want to meet me, you want to buy my books or buy my shirts, come to an event. What really matters is it brings people together. And then that allows people who may be in Columbus, Ohio, or some other city, and they don't know anybody locally, to come to this event, to get to meet more like-minded people, and then to start having these conversations and these dialogues. What do we do if they push biometrics? What are we going to do if they do require digital IDs to get on the internet? Let's start having these conversations. Let's start thinking about local solutions and come out, network, have a good time. I'm giving a new presentation, like I said, about Liberation 2030. I'll also be performing some of my music, and that's kind of the main evening event. But one of my other favorite parts of this tour that we do is what I call community action days. So in the afternoon before the evening event, every city that I'm visiting, we're doing some kind of volunteering. It's kind of different city to city. We've done a lot of community volunteering, community garden volunteering work in the first leg of the tour. We did a beach cleanup in San Diego. This second leg, we're going to be doing some volunteering at farms. We're going to be helping out some houseless people. It's just different things. And none of this is, of course, required. It's just an opportunity for people who do want to come and, hey, let's hang out. Let's go contribute. Because it's important for me to, as I travel, and say, hey, I have a message to share, but also to be giving back in some way, to contribute to the places that I'm visiting. And also because of my beliefs as a libertarian voluntarist who believes that the most minimal government possible is best, I think the way we show people that is by being an example of, well, how would we take care of our communities? Well, we would step up and we would do it. How would we grow our own food? Well, we're going to go volunteer and learn a little bit. We're going to contribute to the places. So we have those community action days where we're doing volunteering. And in the evening, I'm giving presentations. We're doing networking. There's music. And so it's just going to be a fun time. I really enjoy doing this. To me, this is like what keeps me sane. And between being here at my desk and doing the internet stuff is just connecting to people face to face. All the events are completely free. People can find the details at activationtour.org. You'll see a schedule. And if you go to the schedule, you'll see registration links with all the details, locations, and everything. And I'm super stoked. I've been home for a few weeks resting up, and I'm ready to get back on the road and be on the road for 3 weeks and just connect to good people who care about the future and who want to do something about it.
That's amazing. That is amazing. So activationtour.org is the name of the website. When are you coming to New York, and where in New York are you thinking about coming? The general area?
So New York's the last city I have. I'm waiting. I should get the venue confirmed by today, but the date is going to be July 21st. So if you're around and you can meet up, then I know you don't live in the city, but if it's anywhere near you and you got time, I'd love to connect with you in person.
I love New York City. I'll always look for an excuse to come to New York City. I don't know if I can do it 100%, but July 21st, Derrick Broze is going to be in New York, and good luck to you. Pittsburgh is also not too far. Actually, Cincinnati, or not Cincinnati, but Cleveland and Columbus are not too far as well.
Oh, cool.
So I'm
If
going to
any
get
of
those
those dates work out, come out. I'd
Yeah.
love to give
Yeah.
you a hug in person and
Right.
just get to know you better.
Absolutely. 100%. Hey, Derrick, you're a treasure. I've been saying that a lot lately. I've had a lot of great guests on lately who are just treasures, just a great heart. I've been watching you for a very long time. You've been one of the most consistent voices out there for a very long time. I love your independent spirit and your gentle spirit. His Twitter handle at DBroze Live Free. His website is derrickbroze.com. He produces amazing work, investigative journalism. In fact, you're working on a very important story in Utah right now regarding horrifying ritual child sex abuse and child sex trafficking. And so we might have you on again sooner than later, Derrick, based on when you roll that story out. But he is doing incredible work. Please support him. Buy his t-shirts, buy his music, whatever he's selling. Go ahead and buy it, because that's how we independents, get things done. Right? Is by the support from our listeners and our viewers. Anything else you want to say before I let you go? Did we hit everything that we needed to hit today, or did I miss anything?
I think we covered a lot. I'll just add one other sort of teaser. Maybe we can talk about this on the next interview too. Just keep an eye out for anybody who is following me. I'm working with some really awesome activists. We're about to announce, maybe as soon as the end of this week, a national day of action against AI data centers, a nonpartisan day of action on August 1st. I'll tease it here first. The website will be out real soon. And we're just trying to bring, as you said earlier, Shannon, like the flock cameras, these issues, they're bringing together left, right, center, independents, politically homeless. I think we have a very beautiful opportunity right now to try to bring people together who are concerned about data centers, whether it's about environmental stuff, whether it's about surveillance, general distaste for AI, what have you. And so stay tuned to that. We'll be announcing that real soon.
I agree 100%. I think we might have one of the most unique moments in the past 100 years here in the United States of America to bring together Democrats and Republicans unified against something that is truly, truly anti-liberty, anti-freedom, anti-humanity, and anti-American. And I'm down for it. I'm ready for it, Derrick Broze. So thank you for everything that you're doing.
Thank you so much, Shannon. Talk to you soon.
All right, my friend. Have a great day. And thank you to all of you. Yes, you're all special too. You're all a treasure to me. I see you all on the live chat. Absolutely amazing. Maud Trend is with us. I wonder if Derrick knows Ryan Matta. I'm not sure if he knows him. LT Oracle of Truth. Derrick is special. I absolutely agree with you that he absolutely is special and really does just a great job. I'm going to look here. I want to make sure I send some love to all of our viewers over on YouTube, because we have a lot today, and I appreciate all of you. Those of you who are watching live on YouTube, we did not broadcast live because yesterday was a medical freedom show with Nick Hulsher, and that will often get us in trouble over at YouTube. So if you missed the SJ show on YouTube yesterday, it was a really important show. Hop over to Rumble and make sure that you grab it. And let me just see let me view my channel here. Hold on. Let's see what you guys have to say. I want to say hello. For those of you watching on Rumble, smash that thumbs up button right now. Hey, Night Watch N8. Great to see you on the live chat. Having said that, oh, here we go. This is what Night Watch N8 said. Having said that, the most powerful influence we can have in this world is to pattern our lives on the life of Christ. Great job, Brother Broze. Thank you, Night Watch N8. I agree with you 100%. Hey, Cancer is a Lie is with us on the live chat. Moon-Eyed People is with us on YouTube. Hey, Sharon Zarlaki, great to see you. She says good afternoon to all of you. And thank you guys for watching on YouTube. Please remember to join the live chat on YouTube to leave a comment or a question. Give the show and the channel a thumbs up and follow the channel so that you never miss an SJ Live ever. And for everyone on the Rumble live chat, hey, Shauna Fong, great to see you. Brand new name on the Rumble live chat. Love that so much. Can we work with Democrats? I think their primary goal is the destruction of the white race and the annulment of Western civilization. I know a lot of Democrats, Shauna Fong, and I don't know any who want to destroy the white race. I know that there are activists out there that claim the mantle of being a Democrat, but there are all kinds of normal, rational, sane Democrats who like freedom, who like the Constitution, who like liberty, and who are not the, crazy, wacko, LGBTQ, communist, socialist, BLM, wacko environmentalists. In the same way, a lot of Democrats think that Republicans are all, fascists and rednecks and racists and MAGA people and woman abusers and sexists and all of those kind of things. There are all kinds of ways that a lot of Democrats would view Republicans, but there are lots of nice Republicans out there who are none of those things. And so I think what we've done as a nation is we have allowed the two parties to become characterized by the most radical and insane elements of said parties. And all the normal people, like the normal Democrats and the normal Republicans, are like, what the hell just happened? Like, I'm not that person. And so I think the key moving forward in the United States of America over the next 10 years is going to be completely rejecting the psycho, Looney Tune, crazy cultists on the periphery of the Democrat Republican Party, because they're dominating the Democrat and Republican parties, and find each other in the middle, people who are normal, rational, sane. They believe in common sense. They don't want to be gaslit. We like our Constitution. We like our Bill of Rights. We like government, but only when it's in its place and activating within the constructs of the Constitution in a small way. We prefer local government to federal government. Like, all of these things are very normal and sane. And I think that's what we need to try to find and essentially emancipate from the uniparty cult system. The cults on the right and the cults on the left. Skillful Lark says, do we have 10 years? Absolutely. We have all the time in the world to resist. And I think we talked about that today with Derrick. I think we're learning, I hope more and more people are learning, that we do not need the federal government or a president or political parties or the Supreme Court or a Supreme Court ruling or another court ruling or a piece of legislation to claim our independence and our liberty. We claim it ourselves because we are endowed by our Creator with inalienable rights, natural rights that they cannot take from us. We have to seize them back, and we have to do it at the local level. We have all the time in the world to do it. We have all the time in the world to resist and say no and organize and disobey when it violates our God-given natural rights or our ethics. We have all the time in the world to say no. And if just a few of us actually did it and organized at the same time, we'd have the same outcomes that we're seeing in Mexico. We'd have the same wins that we're seeing in other countries. And we're going to see them here in the US. I know we are. I know we are. I would not do this show every day if I thought things were hopeless. And you guys know I have 3 children. I love them desperately. And I do this for them because I'm not going to hand them a future that is dictated by tech fascists and oligarchs, narcissistic, malignant predators in Washington, D.C. and beyond. Over my dead body will my children inherit a slave state when I had the blessing of liberty and you had the blessing of liberty and our parents had the blessings of liberty. We need to fight for that. We need to do it for our kids. And that's why we do this every day. And that's why we welcome like-minded people like Derrick Broze every single day. So thank you, everyone, for being with us today. I love this show with Derrick. I think he's amazing. Make sure you follow him and you support him. And when we come back tomorrow, it's Thursday, so today's Wednesday. Big show tomorrow. It's just me and you, no guest, mano y mano. We'll talk about what's going on with the trees here in my village of Fairport, New York. I think that there is a much bigger agenda behind the raising of beautiful, mature, majestic trees in towns and villages and cities across the United States of America. I think they're paving the way for 5G, 6G, flock cameras, and the surveillance state. And even if your zoning board or the morons on your town board don't understand this, they're taking the grants. they're taking the money. So we're going to dive into that tomorrow, among other things. And I'm going to answer a bunch of your questions, and it'll be your opportunity to make a bunch of comments. I'll have all kinds of time to read your comments and answer your questions. So we'll do a freestyle free-for-all tomorrow here on the Shannon Joy Show with a lot of discussion. I want to leave you with this before we go. In respect to the revolt against the flock cameras, I don't want to end the show without playing this for you. I love this so much. It's delicious. I want more of this. Check out the resistance.
There is a flock camera that has been cut down here in DeBerry in Volusia County. I think this is the first one that's been cut down in Volusia County. Someone used the sawzall on this thing.
Let's go.
See the marks on the teeth marks. It's like a metal blade. It's definitely a flock camera.
Let's go. Let's go across the United States of America. In no way, shape, or form am I advocating any type of illegal activity or desecration of property or vandalism. But yeah, love that so much. Love that so much. All right, guys. Thank you for being with us today here on the Shannon Joy Show. We'll be back tomorrow to do it all again. We'll see you then.